Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video I'm going to be reading chapter 7 of Summer to Die. So let's get right into it. Okay, get comfortable. Okay, finally Molly has stopped being a grouch. It was gradual, and I'm not even sure the change is a good one. She hasn't gone back to being the old Molly she was before she was sick. She isn't giggly, funny Molly anymore, full of smiles and ideas and fun, silly enthusiasms. I don't know what she is now, a stranger mostly. It's as if she has become part of a different world, one that doesn't include me anymore, or even mom and dad. She's quieter, more serious, almost withdrawn. When I tell her about things that are happening at school, she listens and asks questions, but it's as if she doesn't really care much. She's only listening to be polite. Only a few things interest her now. She spends a lot of time with the flowers. In the past, for Molly, the flowers were things to run through in a field, to pick, to bury your nose in, to arrange in a vase on the table. Now with Will's help, she's learning about them. She reads the books he's brought to her and the identities the wildflowers she's found in the fields. She classifies them, labels them, arranges them in order in a book that she's putting together. It takes most of her time. She's very careful and very serious about her flowers. We don't dare ever to tease her about them. It's as if she's become suddenly old. Okay, the other thing that still interests her is the baby. She visits Maria often, and they talk about the baby. Sorry, Molly is helping Maria to make clothes for it. They sew together, and she finishes something. Molly smooths it with such care, folds it neatly, and puts it away in a drawer. They're filling with little things. Even Ben and Maria seem a little puzzled by the concern Molly has for all those tiny nightgowns and sweaters. Once I heard Ben say to her, "Hey, Moll, it's already going to be the best dressed kid in the valley. Quit sewing for a while, will you?" "Come with me to see if we can find wild strawberries." But, but Molly just smiled at him and shook her head. "You go ahead, Ben," she said. "Take Meg. I want to finish this. I want everything to be perfect when the baby comes." Ben groaned. "Molly, don't you know what babies are like? He's just going to pee on those clothes. Why do they need to be perfect with that kind of future in store for them?" Molly smiled at him and went on stitching. And sometimes for no reason, Molly is like a baby herself. One night after supper, when it was raining outside, we were sitting in front of the fireplace. Mom was just working on the quilt, Dad was reading, and Molly and I were just watching the logs shift and send sparks into the chimney as they burned. We had our pajamas on. Suddenly, very quietly, Molly got up, went over to Dad, and climbed onto his lap. He didn't say anything. He just put his book down, put his arms around her, held her, and watched the fire. She put her head on his shoulder like a sleepy 2-year-old, and with one hand he stroked the fine, wispy, baby-like hair she has left. I could understand, I guess, the change in Molly if she were sick. But she isn't. She's perfectly well. She is still taking the pills, and every few weeks, Mom takes her to Portland to the hospital for a test to make sure everything is okay. Soon, the doctor said she'll be able to stop taking the pills altogether, and then her hair will grow back. She'll win a beauty contest, the specialist told her, when she has her curls again. Mom told us that at dinner, after they had come back from the hospital, and Molly just smiled, the casual, intolerant kind of smile most people give to people that most people give to small children who say foolish things. Okay, let's see. We're gonna move off. You go. Oh, yeah, here. But Molly just smiled at him and shook her head. You go ahead, Ben, she said. Take Meg. I want to finish this. I want everything to be perfect when the baby comes. Ben groaned. Molly, don't you know that... Oh, I think I read that. Guys, I'm sorry. That was a page I already read. I'm sorry. Let's see. But there was a time when it would have meant something to Molly. To be told she was beautiful. What things change. I just have to learn to adjust to what they change to. One morning early in June, my father came into the kitchen, poured himself a cup of coffee, and sighed. I was just finishing my breakfast and I planned to spend all of Saturday morning in a dark room. I had photographed Maria by her kitchen window, and Will and I were experimenting with different kinds of paper for the finished prints. I could hardly wait to try printing Maria in different contrasts, textures, and tones. But when Dad pours a cup of coffee, sits down in the kitchen and sighs, I know I'd better stick around because something's up. I just got a phone call, he said, from Clarice Calloway. Are your books overdue? I asked. She's a real stickler about overdue books. He laughed. No, she and I have achieved a pretty good understanding about my overdue books. Okay, I wish that's all it were. She started the conversation by saying, I don't want to meddle, but meddle? The word is spelled M-E-D-D-L-E. I think it's meddle, meddle. But you know what that means. It means she wants to meddle. Sometimes she starts with, I don't mean to be inquisitive, but... Right, and that means she means to be inquisitive. I can see you have Clarice figured out. How many more pages until the end of the chapter? Let's see how many more. Not a crazy amount, but okay. Doable. I can see you have Clarice figured out, Meg. Well, this time she's upset about Will renting the house. She says the whole village is up in arms, which I assume is a Calloway exaggeration. Hold on. Because there are hippies living in Will's house. Hippies? What's that supposed to mean? Dad frowned. I don't know. Ben has a beard, and I guess by Clarice's definition, that makes him a hippie. But maybe you can shed some light on the things she brought up. Is it true that Ben and Maria are growing marijuana behind the house? I started to laugh. Dad, of course not. They've put in peas and strawberries so far. Ben wants to plant squash, but he hasn't decided what varieties yet. And his tomatoes and beans go in this week. Is it true that they walk around nude? Good grief, Dad. No, it isn't true, but even if it were, whose business would it be? They're out in the middle of nowhere. One afternoon, Maria took off her shirt and lay in the sun. When I came along, she had her shirt off and she asked me if I minded. I said I didn't, and she left it off for a while. She gets so hot and uncomfortable because the baby's due soon. Well, that was another of Clarice's topics. Is it true that they're planning to have that baby by themselves in the house? Yes, but they've both been reading everything they can find about delivering a baby. Maria's doing all sorts of exercises, and they took a course together in Boston. And Dr. Putnam in the village has agreed to come if they need him. Dad scratched his head. No chance that they'll change their minds about that? I don't think so, Dad. It's very important to them. They're really excited about doing it themselves. About having the baby born in the house instead of a hospital. They don't like the in-person contact of the hospital, but the baby is important to them too. They're doing everything they can to be sure the baby will be safe and healthy. Well, I guess I can try to convince Clarice of that. So that leaves only one thing. They are married, aren't they? I stirred the last soggy Rice Krispies in the bottom of the bowl. They love each other. They talk about being old together. Old together. Sitting in rocking chairs on their porch. And what it would feel like to kiss each other when they have false teeth and bifocals. That's not what I asked. Are they married? Funny how Rice Krispies stick to a bowl when they're wet. I really had to pry them loose from the sides of the bowl with my spoon. I don't think so, Dad. Maria doesn't wear a wedding ring, and her last name is different from Ben's. My father winced. That's what I was afraid of. I don't quite know how to deal with that one. And Clarice has already called Will's nephew in Boston. Well, maybe you should talk to Ben and Maria about it, Meg. They might as well be prepared. Great. What was I supposed to do? Go tell my my friends who were going to have a baby next month that I thought they ought to get married? What business was it of mine? Still, my father was right. They know, they should know that, why am I making so many mistakes? I'm sorry again. What was going on? I gave up my plans for working in the darkroom that morning. Ben and Maria had asked me if they could see some of my photographs, so I took the ones I'd done with Will. And two that I'd just finished of Molly. She hadn't even noticed my taking them. She'd been sitting on the front steps, working on some of her wildflowers. With Will's help, she'd mounted each of the flowers she'd pressed and labeled them with their Latin names. One of the pictures showed Molly holding a blossom of queen, hands lace up against the sunlight. Both she and the blossom were in silhouette. The other photograph was of her bent head with what was left of her curly hair falling down over her face as she arranged some tiny flowers on a page. Ben and Maria were hanging sheets and towels on the clothesline behind their house when I got there. They did their wash together every Saturday using an old wringer machine that they bought at a garage sale. Ben always teased Maria that if she'd if she didn't have the baby on time, he would put her through the ringer and squeeze it out. Just thinking about it makes my stomach lurch. But Maria thought it was funny. "Hey, Meg," Ben called cheerfully. Then he saw me coming. "This time next month, we'll be hanging diapers." "You mean you'll be hanging diapers?" Or, sorry, I know I'm talking like in the question, but let me repeat that. "You mean you'll be hanging diapers?" laughed Maria, as she snapped a wet dish towel into the air to get the wrinkles out. "I'm going to be lying in bed, being waited on, having tea brought to me on a tray while I recover." Knowing Maria, I didn't think she was going to be spending much time in bed recovering. She'll probably be up and around the day after the baby arrived, sanding the floors, building a bookcase, making raspberry jam. I talked her into letting me help Ben with the rest of the laundry, and she went inside to make a pot of tea. We sat around their little painted kitchen table and shared tea with fresh mint in it. She'd probably be up and around the day after the baby arrived, building a bookcase, raspberry jam. I don't think I read that. Yeah, we sat around their little painted kitchen table and shared tea with fresh mint in it. I took the photographs to show them. They loved the ones of Will, because they love Will, but the two of Molly were better. They thought that, and I could see the difference too. So I learned was that supposed to be there. Guys, I am back. So let's get started again. So I need to finish this. 10 more pages. We sat around their little painted. I never read that. But the two of Molly were better. They thought that, and I could see the difference too. Partly it was because learn doesn't belong. Sorry, I think I read that. Partly it was because I have been learning so much from working. Sorry. From working with Will. Partly it was because I was using his German camera now. He had taught me to use. Make sure it's playing. Okay. To use different lenses. I had shot these two of Molly with the 90mm lens, and I had been able that way to do it from a distance so that she hadn't known I was doing it. The look on her face was absorbed, preoccupied with her flowers. The fine lens caught the sharp outline of sunlight on her hair, on the window, and the windows across her face and hands. I asked Molly if she wanted to come with me this morning, I explained, but she wasn't feeling well. She said to say hi, though, and to see how you're coming with the cradle. Maria grinned with pride and pointed into the living room, where the cradle stood, finished. It glowed with wax. Folded over one side was a soft yellow crocheted blanket, sorry. Meg asked Ben hesitantly, "What's wrong with Molly?" I told him about her illness, about the nosebleeds, the hospital, the transfusions, and the pills that were making her hair fall out. They were both very quiet. Ben reached over and ran his head gently over the top of my head. "That's rough," he said. "That's very rough." "Well," I explained, It's not that big a deal." And she's lots better. Look, I pointed to one of the photographs. See how round her face is getting? She gained 10 pounds since she came from the hospital. Maria poured some tea into our cups. Glad we came here, Ben, she said suddenly. For Molly, she's so excited about the baby. That reminded me why I had to come see them. Ben, Maria, I said, you know the little church in the village? Sure, Ben said. The white steeple. It looks like a postcard picture. Why? You going to photograph it? No, I said. But last Saturday when I was in town with Mom to buy groceries, there was a wedding there. It was really neat. The bride came out and threw her bouquet from the step. The bridesmaids all had light blue dresses on, and I hesitated. Well, I don't know. It was just nice. Ben and Maria are both making faces. Ben is quite good at making faces. He screwed his mouth up sideways and crossed his eyes. Weddings, he said. Yuck. Maria rolled her eyes and agreed with him. Yuck, she said. Why? I asked. What's wrong with getting married, darn it? They both looked surprised. Nothing's wrong with getting married, Ben said. It's weddings that are so awful. What do you think, Maria? Shall we show her? Maria grinned and nodded. Yeah, she said. She's a good kid. Ben went into the living room and took a box out of the closet. He brought it back to the kitchen table and set it down. He leered, fingered his beard, and said in a diabolical voice, You wanna see some filthy pictures, lady? Then he opened the box. I started to laugh. They weren't bad photographs, in fact. Technically, they were very good photographs. Even though I'm not crazy about color, but they were awful. And they were of Ben and Maria's wedding, for Pete's sake. They were in a thick white leather album that said Our Wedding on the cover in gold letters, and I could see while I looked at them what Ben and Maria meant about yucky weddings. There were the tuxedos and the tails and the top hats. There was Maria with her dress pulled up to show a lacy blue garter. There were the huge baskets of flowers beside the altar of the church. Know what happened to those flowers? Maria asked. $200 worth of flowers? They got thrown away as soon as the service was over. There was the wedding cake, about 3 feet high, decorated with birds and flowers and frosting ribbons. Know how much that cake cost? Grinned Ben. $100. Know what it tasted like? Cardboard. There were hundreds of people drinking champagne. Know what those people are? Asked Maria. My parents. Friends. Ben's parents' friends. Know what they're doing? Getting drunk on $500 worth of champagne. And there were Ben and Maria surrounded by people, flowers, and food. They were smiling at the camera, but they both looked as if they didn't mean it much. Know who that is? Ben asked. I nodded. That's Ben, Brady, and Maria Abbott, who wanted to get married in a field of daisies beside a stream. Who wanted to have guitar music instead of five-piece band. Homemade wine instead of champagne, he said. He slammed the book closed and put it back in the box. Why didn't you? I asked. They shrugged. I thought something was about to turn off, sorry. Oh, sometimes it's just easier to please people, Maria said finally. Ben's parents wanted a big wedding. My parents wanted a big wedding. We did it for them, I guess. Can I ask you a funny question? Sure. Why don't you both have the same name? It was Maria who answered me. You know, Meg, I had the name Abbott all my life. Maria Abbott did things that I was proud of. I won a musical award in high school, and I was Maria Abbott. I was elected to Phi Beta Kappa College. Sorry, I need to reread that. Sorry, reread that. I was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in college. Something I worked hard for, and I was Maria Abbott. When I realized I wanted to marry Ben, I realized that I didn't want to stop being Maria Abbott. Ben could understand that. There's no law that says a wife must take her husband's name. So I didn't. Someday you may feel the same way about Meg Chalmers. Right now, I know there's no name I would rather be than Meg Chalmers. It's a funny thing about names, how they become part of someone. I thought suddenly of the little boy Will Banks years ago, who sat in a room angry and sad, and carved William on the closet. Hey, I said. Funny I hadn't thought to ask before. The baby, what are you going to name him? Her? It? Name him. Her? It? There you go. Ask any other question. Don't ask what we're going to name her, him, her, it. We can't decide. We fight about it all the time. We scream at each other. It's awful, Ben said. I've quit worrying about it. I figure the baby is going to arrive, and before it does anything else, it's going to shake hands all around and say, "Hi, I'm..." That's the only way we're going to know what its name is. Then he bounded through the living room, and opened the door. But look, this is where it will be born. I looked through the living room and saw an empty room beyond, very clean, its walls freshly painted white, with a brass bed alone in the center. This is how it will sleep, said Maria, smiling, touching the cradle with her bare foot so that it rocked slightly. And this is what it'll wear, said Ben proudly, reaching into the drawer of a partly sanded pine chest and pulling out a tiny blue nightgown. The drawer was filled with little folded things. This is what it'll eat, Maria grinned, cupping her hands around her breasts. And Ben stood still suddenly in the middle of the living room. Meg, come. I want to show you something. He took my hand, and I followed him out the back door, picking up my photographs on the way. It was almost lunchtime. Ben took me past the garden where the peas were thriving against the wire trellises, across the newly cleared space where he'd been pulling up alders, past the little wooden bird feeder that Maria filled with seeds each morning behind a clump of young pine trees. He had pulled up brush and exposed part of a rock wall that had been... Sorry, I don't know what that is. Some weird YouTube recommendation or something. I don't remember. And exposed part of a rock wall that had been there. I knew for more than 100 years the sunlight filtered down the nearby woods into the little secluded space. He had cut the grass there, and it was very soft, very green, very quiet. He put his arm over my shoulders and said, "This is where we'll bury the baby, if it doesn't live." I couldn't believe it. I pushed his arm off me and said, "What?" "You know," he said firmly, "sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to. The baby dies. Maria and I will bury it here." "It's not going to die." "What a horrible thing to say." "Look, Mag," Ben said, "you can pretend that bad things will never happen, but life's a lot easier if you realize and admit that sometimes they do. Of course, the baby's probably going to be just fine, but Maria and I talk about the other possibility too, just in case, just in case." I turned away from him and left him standing there. I was so angry I was shaking. I looked back. His hands were in his pockets and he was watching me. I said, "Just in case you're interested, Ben Brady, I think you're an absolutely rotten person. That baby doesn't deserve you for a father." Then I walked home on the other and on then I walked home, and on the way home I was sorry I had said it, but I was too late to go back. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will post more tomorrow morning, sometime tomorrow, on chapter 8. No. 9, sorry. See you then, bye. Bye. Oops.